There you are. Oh no. Oh no, not that again. All right, this just became a Whipped It video. This is a lock from Raymond Mormon in El Paso, Texas. I've been working on this for 2 days, and this is as far as I've gotten. And every time I get to this exact position, all the pins seize up. There's no feedback. None of them, even the springy ones, are no longer springy. They're just totally solidly locked. So I think we're looking at some very deep undercuts and some sharp edges on some of these pins. He does say in here, I got a note, I'm trying to keep it off screen because he's got his address and phone number and everything. He says it's got a spool or two, but no undermilling or threading, and I didn't detect any threading. It's fully rekeyable without any special alterations. He says he says it does have ball bearings. I just like the ball bearings to make things smooth, and what he means by that is make my life hard, because it's really hard to position your pick, so it just really slows you down. He says other than feel, they're not part of the security. So I guess we may as well go ahead and gut it. I'm never going to get it open. I'm going to go ahead and lock it back. When you do, or lock it back, I'm going to go ahead and let it get out of the fault set. When you look in there, I think you can see that first ball bearing, and we got several of them. You can feel them. Your pick literally slides around inside of there. And every time you think you've got a position, it'll slide off. So it really does slow things down. This is what the key looks like. He even let me have a free look at the key. Didn't help me a bit. This thing does work. It is smooth. It gets caught up, like right there. Once in a while it does get caught up, but you just jiggle it and it does work. So it is a valid challenge lock. This is frustrating. Anyway, quit whining, Bill. Let's go ahead and gut it. Got to give it up. 2 days is enough. All right, do the key. Let me go ahead and take that tail piece off first. This thing's got me flustered. That same fault set every single time. Exact same location, exact same place. And then total lockup. All right, so far so good. Look at there, you can even see a ball bearing in the back. So I'm telling you, there's a lot of them in there. It really is like skating on ice once you put the pick in there. Really difficult to get it positioned correctly. Let's see what we got here. I got a key. 90. Oh, wait a minute. Wait just a minute. Let me back out a little. I do have a sealed note. It says, don't peek under it until you're ready to disassemble it. I'm ready to disassemble it. All right. Use a 9/16. For a following tool, use a 9/16 OD hollow tube. The sleeve pin can be easily removed with tweezers. A 9/16 OD hollow tube. I wonder if that's 9/16. We're going to find out. We're going to find out because it's as close as I can come. All right, so now we've already blown step number one. So the pick resistant concept, any turning force results in absolute set at the plug shear line instead of at the sleeve. We got 2 shear lines. I should have known. Spools are just a nuisance, short of raking or rocking to accidentally, and believe me, I tried raking, I tried rocking, I tried the electro pick gun, I tried a snap gun, I tried all the magic that I have, to include my Cadabra. No luck. You can't get set at the sleeve shear. The top pins will be resting on the sleeve on the plug. So when it rotates, the bottom pins no longer make contact with any of the top pins and they cannot be pushed up. Exactly the symptoms I found. All right, I'm hoping that this is not 9/16. All right, guys, I am at a loss here. All right, let me go figure something out. I don't want to screw this up. I'm not claiming credit for picking it, so it doesn't matter if I turn the camera off. I think if you look in there, you can see a brass sleeve that you wouldn't normally see. That would be the second shear line. But let me find a right tool, and let's see if we just can't get inside of this thing correctly without spewing pins everywhere. All right, guys, I do not have a 9/16 OD hollow tube. I did play around with it. It has to be apparently the same thickness as that brass piece right there to encapsulate the tailpiece. I don't have it, so let's just do this the old school way. We are obviously open, so it's at the shear line. This is my logic. I'm going to slide out the core and hopefully keep that center tube in. And I'm going to do that. You can see it starting to come out here. I believe we can probably... That is not going to work. Ray, I wish you'd put a tube in the box, man. No, I'm going to mess this up, but that's the way it goes. All right, so that's plan 2. I'm going to slide this core out, and I'm going to try to hold that sleeve in place. And we're going to gut this from the rear. So, fingers crossed. All right, you can start to see the lineup on the brass tube there with the first pin. They're not spring-loaded, so I'm hoping that this will work. Okay, tweezers. Try to keep that oriented correctly. Okay, so we got a serrated pin in number 6. I'm going to actually press my thumb down on that sleeve so that it doesn't slide as I push. Okay, we got a standard pin. And oh no, I'm sorry, that is an ASA pin. We got some good technology in here, I'll say that. Different spring. Make sure everything's still lined up. Okay, we got a different spring, longer, and another ASA pin. Okay, it looks like we got a side pin here as well. I'm going to have to hold my finger on it. I don't think it's spring loaded, but I also don't want it to fall out. All right, we got another standard. Or actually, that's the first standard. Oops. With another different type of spring. And I'm just making sure nothing else is going to jump out of here. Okay, we got another, that's a key pin. There's a key pin in chamber 2. Another steel spring. And in chamber number 1, it looks like another ASA. Come out of there. Okay, we got another ASA pin. I already don't feel bad. I do not feel bad, guys. And we have another different, much longer spring in chamber number 1. All right, let's get a look at this. All right, we do have obviously a steel sleeve here. So I'm thinking one or more of these are very, very short. All right, I'm just going to I'm going to leave the key in. I'm going to cover up all the top pins, and let's find out what this side pin's about. Well, there's no spring inside of that hole. Obviously, well, I'm going to say obviously, it looks like it's used to bind up the side pin, or the inner core and the outer sleeve. Don't pull that out of there, Bill. All right, I'm going to dump pins from the rear. So pin 6 first. And there's a ball bearing in there. We knew that. Oh, okay, so that's that guy. Those ball bearings are not coming out. There we go. That was number 4. Number 5. Ah. I have to get my beater block over here. I don't know, maybe he's glued in there. We'll worry about him later. It's just a ball bearing. All right, we're on pin 3. Okay, there's your ball bearing. That pin looks like spooled. 2. There, finally he falls out. And come on, ball bearing. And pin 1. Come on. And there's your sleeve. Let's take a closer look at that. Let's get the ball bearing out first. There we go. Otherwise it would just bother me. Okay, nothing weird about the core. I mean, obviously, other than we have this sleeve around it, but no counter milling. He wasn't lying. I could have swore, but I think I know what was happening. With this sleeve on there, if I picked it to the wrong height and tried to turn it, I was getting a false set, probably on one of the ASA pins. And then when it was rotating, like a partial rotation, that's why it was seizing up. Because once it turned, none of the other pins, even though I needed to pick them, none of the other pins could be pushed through that sleeve if it was turned like that. So the only way truly to get into this thing is literally to pick all 6 pins to the correct height before you apply any pressure. The moment you apply tension and fall into any of those grooves, either on the serrated or any of those ASA pins, apparently it was rotating just enough to give you the false set, but also just enough so none of the pins that were not set could be pushed past that sleeve. And that would also explain why they all bind up, and with even the springy ones were no longer springy. What a devious design. Raymond, you've been staying up watching late night TV too much, man. This is something you can see on a horror show for lockpickers. This guy on the side, obviously it was in like this. Okay, so that was there just enough to allow it to rotate to give you the false set. So if you had the pins picked to the correct height, you need some way to cause the core and the outer sleeve to rotate at the same time. And by having this guy in there, that's exactly what he did. He would allow you to turn enough to get a false set to seize up the lock. And if all the pins were picked to the correct height, it would not only give you the false set, but then it would continue to rotate to turn this sleeve at the same time you turn that core. That took some thought, Raymond. Anyway, I do not feel bad. I definitely was whipped by this thing for 2 full days, but you know what? It was totally worth it just to see what makes this thing go. Anyway, fellas, thanks for your time. Thanks for your patience. Stay safe, stay legal. Raymond, thank you. Great lock. Fantastic lock. Thanks, guys.